Today we'll focus more on storage account. What exactly is storage account? What are the different storage redundancy do we have in Azure DevOps? And thirdly, we'll see what is containers in storage. Okay, this is some in couple of days we'll focus on storage account. Post which we'll go back to virtual networking. Okay, let me go back to the storage account. Anyone has any questions till now, guys? Like whatever topics we have covered? Anyone tried doing something in which you guys failed? Or have any doubt, any suggestion? If not, let's go back and let's understand what exactly is Azure storage. Okay. So till now we were just talking about the VMs. We talked about the VMs, how we can make the VMs available, how we can make the VMs resilient. Now this is where we talk about storage, wherein Microsoft Azure storage is nothing but it's the place wherein you can store objects, files, messages, and a non-SQL storage. So this is a place. Azure storage is nothing but it's a place wherein you can store multiple types of data, and it accepts any type of data, whether it's a video file, it's an MP3 file. It has place for everything. In short. Like if you want to store video, MP3 or any such files, you can create a container and you can store any such data in it. And you can that data will be easily accessible from anywhere in the world. So over the HTTP and HTTPS, you can access this data anywhere in the world. Other than if you have any special requirement like file share, if you want to create a file share, so file share path, even that is possible with Microsoft storage account. Microsoft even provides a message queuing facility. Though it has multiple others queuing facility, it also provides message queuing, a very cheap message queuing facility in with storage account. Okay, and it also provides, if you have some NoSQL data to be stored in a table like structure, even that is possible with the storage account. So basically Azure storage account contains all of your Azure storage like data objects, including blocks, file share, queues, table, and disk. And it provides a unique namespace for your storage account so that the data can be accessible anywhere in the world over HTTP or HTTPS. Okay. Firstly, what are the features of storage account? High availability and durability. Storage account comes with different redundancy to fulfill your durability requirement. What are the different redundancy plan? That is something we'll talk about later. But using storage account, your data will be highly available. That for sure. Okay. Security, by default, all data written to the storage account is encrypted by storage encryption services. So data are encrypted when rest, data are encrypted when in transit. So basically all your data are encrypted any given point of time. So to access your storage account, we provide different authorization methods such as key, shared access signature, and etc. Okay. So data are highly secure if you're keeping your data in storage account. Scalability and manageability. Azure Storage is a platform managed service. Depending upon your requirement, it will automatically scale the storage and performance. So you don't have to ask for storage, you don't have to ask for space and things like that in Azure Storage. It will automatically manage your storage and it will automatically increase the space if required. Okay. How do we access this storage account? Storage account can be accessed over HTTP or HTTPS and can be used to access data that is stored in Azure storage. You can even make use of SDK. SDK is nothing but it's a software development toolkit provided by Microsoft, and you can easily integrate your Azure storage with your code. So Azure storage can be easily integrated with your application, with your code, and you can, if you want to store something in Azure storage directly from your application, or if you want to fetch something directly from your application, even that is possible with Azure storage account. Okay. So there are two types of storage account. In fact, I will say three types of storage account which you will come across when you create a storage account. There are three types of storage account which you will come across: standard general purpose, premium block 3, and premium file share. So where exactly this differed, what is the difference between standard and premium, that is something we'll talk in a bit. This is up to you what type of redundancy plan you're selecting. Based on that, you can select standard and premium one. So just an FYI, in standard there are different redundancy plan such as LRS, GRS, ZRS, and GZRS. This is all supported, and it is not supporting NFS. That's network file system, network file share. Okay. Now let's talk about that in a bit first before understanding standard and all this. Okay. So there are four types of data which you can store in storage account. You can have, as I said, there are containers, files, tables, and queue. What all things can you store in containers? So all blob data you can store in container. What are the blob data? Such as documents, images, video, audio, backup file, database. So whatever unstructured data you can think of, all those unstructured data can be stored into storage account. Okay. Anything, whatever you can think of that you want to store this in unstructured data, it's unstructured data, you want to store it in Azure storage, that is, you can store it in Azure storage very easily. Files, okay, so Azure files is more like directories. If you want to store some text file, exe, and any sort of log files, if you want to store, then that can be easily stored in Azure files. So if you guys have used file share servers on your local data center, then you'll know what exactly this Azure file is all about. So Azure file is highly available file share in cloud. So this is very similar to what file share server we use on data center. The only difference is this is in cloud, and that can be easily mounted on cloud and on-prem machines. This is, we'll see an example, guys. So I'll do this demo, then we'll see this in as an example. So file share, just to give you a very easy example what exactly file share path is all about. So this is nothing but it's a storage, okay, which is mounted on servers, and basically that storage is used by multiple developers. So that space is getting shared by multiple developers. Okay, so they use that space for storing application logs, they use that space for storing their source code, and many things they use it for. Okay, an application will have multiple requirements. They need to dump garbage, they need to dump logs, they need to dump source code, and many things they need to do. So they will need a storage wherein they can do a shared storage wherein they can do all this. Okay, so if you go back to your local data center, I'm not talking about cloud, so we tend to have a storage which is mounted on servers and which is getting used by multiple people around. Okay, same thing you can do it on cloud. So now if you want to do the same thing on data center, you need to go and buy a storage first, a network storage first. You need to attach that network storage to your data center, then you need to mount it to your servers, and if the storage is full, you need to go and procure more storages. So that's a big headache kind of thing. Now with cloud, you don't have to do anything. With cloud, you can just simply go and create a file share, select a storage of 100 GB, attach that storage to your server. And if there is a need of more storage, you can simply go and increase your storage in cloud. This is what file share storage is all about. It makes things very easy when you have things in cloud. And mounting this file share on servers is very easy. I'll show you later in this course how exactly we mount and how do we make use of file share storage in cloud. Okay, so these are the two things: Azure Container, dealing with structured data such as text and binary, Azure Files. These are the two things which you will use a lot when you're working with Azure storage. Third is wherein you got tables, idols for storing structured and non-relational data. So these tables are basically, guys, if you want to store non-SQL data, then this is the place wherein you can store it. But this is not a replacement of any database, guys. So keep that in mind. If you have an application and if there's a requirement of no SQL database, then don't go and start using Azure tables. This is just if you have any uh, dummy data with dump data or test data or anything testing data you want to put it, then this is the place wherein you can put it, because you'll not get the performance and the optimization what an actual database will provide. Okay, so this is not a replacement at all. So don't come with an expectation that it will have all those performance oriented and optimized oriented things for you, which can eventually boost your performance of your application. So no, this is provided by Azure storage account, a feature. You can use it if you have any non-operational or if you have non-production data to store or to dump basically, because this is very cheap as compared to if you use any Cosmos DB, that is non-SQL. If you use any such database, this becomes very cheap. Okay, but it will not give you that performance which you are talking about. Same goes with Azure queuing service. So this queuing service is used to store messages and retrieve messages between application that needs to process asynchronously. You remember this word asynchronously. Now this queuing service also not, it's not a replacement of your other queuing service what you have in Azure. Okay, so like we use SQS and all this, so this is not a replacement of those services. Now this is asynchronous sync which we are talking about. So can anyone aware what is the difference between a synchronous and asynchronous queuing? Anyone want to give it a try? What is synchronous and asynchronous? No one, guys? Okay, so there are other queuing service also in Azure, that service bus which is synchronous. Okay, so asynchronous, synchronous, there's a big difference. If I talk about synchronous, I'm talking about a continuous replication. So whatever changes you do, the same thing gets replicated at the same time. Wherein asynchronous does a batch type kind of processing. It's not a real-time processing sync which is happening. It will happen in duration, in a batch kind of thing. It will happen in like in an hour, 2 hour, whatever timing has been set. So that is what the major difference between the queuing service and this Azure queues. Azure queues, again, it's not a replacement of your other queuing service like SQS and service bus and things like that, guys. This is there if you have non-prod application, and if it's okay for your application to get the data after an hour and after 2 hours, if that is okay, and if the asynchronous sync is okay for your application, then you can go with Azure queues. Okay, so 4 types of services what Azure storage provides. Containers, wherein you can store blobs. This is 95% of time you'll be using containers in Azure storage, wherein you'll be storing blob data. Second is Azure files, wherein this is a replacement of file share which is there on your local data center. This is highly robust. You can easily create 100 GB of storage, and you can easily integrate with your servers, whether the servers are on-prem or whether this is on cloud. That can be done very easily. Then you got Azure tables. This is for storing structural non-relationship data, that's non-SQL data, but not a replacement of actual database such as Cosmos DBs, DynamoDB, and not MongoDB. Not a replacement. These are all non-SQL databases, guys. Azure Queue is used to store messages and retrieve messages between application. Component that needs to be processed asynchronously. So if you have any application and wherein you can do asynchronous replication, then Azure Queue is the service which is very cheap. If you do a comparison between billing comparison between service bus and Azure Queue is very cheap. The reason it is cheap, it is because it is asynchronous replication, what exactly it is doing. Okay. So these are the 4 services in Azure which you will come across. Let's go and look into the first service, that is Azure Container. Then we'll talk about redundancy and we'll talk about availability in Azure storage. Anyone has any questions till now, guys? Any questions? Any doubt about any of these services? No questions? How many do we have? 15 people. Okay, so when you go back to your portal, at the top there is an option of storage account. Just look for storage account. Okay, now you can click on create storage account. Okay, now in the storage account, let's go and give any name. Let's name it as Valaxy SA. No caps, no special character, no hyphen, nothing. You can use it over here. Selecting region as East US. Performance is standard and premium. There are 2 types of performance. Okay, so if you select standard, it is basically support general purpose v2. Like suppose if you want to have a data lake storage, queue storage, table storage, Azure file storage, everything is supported over here. And it will, wherein if you select premium, you need to pay extra for it, and this is for scenarios that have low latency. If you want a very low latency with minimum latency, if you want, then you can go with this premium one. Premium one has some other features such as block blobs, file share, page blobs. This is something I'll talk about later. And even in premium, NFS, that is network file system, is also supported in premium type. What exactly is network file? If you want to create a file share and if you want to mount it on some server using NFS, then you need to select premium. That is not available in standard. Okay, so standard is basically used for general purpose. Okay, it supports all types of redundancy. What exactly is redundancy? All types of replication it supports, and it supports creation of data lake, it supports queue storage, it supports table storage, it supports Azure files. So all the 4 types which we spoke in the PPT just now, it is supported by standard. Premium have some additional premium features such as network NFS, which I just spoke about, and there are different types of blobs what premium supports. Page blobs, and there are file share, and there are multiple other blobs what premium support. What exactly the difference between those blobs are, we'll understand that later. But for now, let's stick with standard. Okay, this is the most recommended one which you will be using if you're creating Azure storage. Obviously, it comes with cost. If you talk about premium and standard, there's a difference in cost, guys. This premium one is costly as compared to the standard one. Okay. Now, redundancy. This is very important. There are 4 types of redundancy which we have with Azure storage. Okay, that is LRS, GRS, ZRS, and GZRS. Now let's go and understand this redundancy first with a diagram. So redundancy, what exactly is redundancy, guys? This is all about how Azure storage is copying your data to multiple locations. That is what redundancy is all about, and how your data is highly available. Now again, we saw the same thing, like in if one zone is down, how your VM will be replicated to other zone. This is something we were discussing till now. So same goes with data. Like suppose if you're storing your data in Azure storage, and in whichever zone the storage is going in, and if that zone itself is down, what will happen to your data? Correct? Data is very important nowadays. So this redundancy is just talking about how your data is replicated in the primary region. Okay, so all this is what it is talking about, in how exactly your data are copied from one region to other region. So these are the type. LRS is the least one which you can have. So if with LRS, 3 copies of data synchronously in a single physical location is getting copied. Okay, now let me give you an example. This is what a zone is all about. You got your data center. Just think of this as one region, East US. That is what we are selecting, correct? Okay. With LRS, I'm talking about the first type, that is LRS, that is lowest cost redundancy option. What you can select, it's known as local redundant storage. What exactly it will do? It will replicate your storage account 3 times within a single data center. It will replicate 3 times your storage account within a single data center. Now if you're creating a storage account over here, it will get replicated 3 times. So it will have 1 copy created over here, it will have 2nd copy created, it will have 3rd copy created. So same data is getting replicated 3 times. So 1 copy, and this is done automatically, guys. You don't have to do anything. If you select LRS, this is something will be done automatically. You will have 2 copy and you will have 3 copy. So these 3 copies are getting created automatically whenever you just create a storage account and select this LRS option. So lowest cost option with basic protection against server, rack and drive failures. Okay, so there are 3 copies. If there's anything, any server, anything is getting impacted, if any of your racks are getting failed, then if suppose this copy is failed, then automatically your data will get served from this copy. So there are 3 copies what Microsoft is creating in the backend. So this is LRS. Now the second one is, you can even also have ZRS. Now within the zone, this is East US, within one zone, there are 3 copies getting created. Okay, so this is the least replication method which you can use it in Azure storage. Now the second one which you can opt for, if your data are more critical and if you cannot even, if the complete zone is down, then this LRS will not work, guys, because in the zone where you had your data, the zone itself is down, then this LRS will not work, your data is gone. Now in order to avoid such things, what you can do, you can select ZRS, which is a costly affair as compared to LRS. In ZRS, what will happen? ZRS replicates your, ZRS stands for Zone Redundant Storage. It replicates your storage account synchronously across Azure availability zones in the primary region. Now let's extend this. Let me remove it. Now let's have this. Now this is a region, East to West. In region we had 3 zones. Hopefully everyone remember. In region we got 3 zones. Zone 1, you got zone 2, and then we got zone 3. Okay, perfect. This is zone 1. This is zone 2. And then you got zone 3. This is an example of ZRS. Now what did I say when we were doing LRS? So in LRS case, you'll have 3 copies created in zone 1 itself. And if the zone 1 itself is down, then there's an issue. You cannot retrieve your data. But in case of ZRS, you'll have your copies created in zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, and as we all know from availability set, these zones are tightly coupled together with high fiber cables, and there's very less latency between these zones. So it's less than 2 milliseconds. So the datas are getting replicated synchronously. What happens if zone 1 goes down? You have data getting served from zone 2. That is what ZRS. ZRS is costly affair, guys. If you are selecting ZRS, make sure you are checking the charges. And this ZRS feature is not available in all the regions, guys. If you have to keep that in mind. So East US has 3 zones, hence you can use ZRS over there. If any region who doesn't have 3 zones, you cannot select ZRS. Like if I remember it right, West US doesn't have 3 zones. So you cannot select ZRS over there. So let's test it. If I select West US, okay, West US. See this. Do you see it? It doesn't have ZRS. It just has LRS and GRS. Now if I go and select East US, you will see that. See, ZRS option is also there. So ZRS option is not available for all the regions. It is only available whenever there is a need. Wherever there is a 3 zones availability. Okay. If there are no 3 zones, so it's not necessary that each region will have zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Because this is a costly affair. Zone 1 is nothing but it's a complete data center. Okay, if Microsoft has built a data center over there, then it's 3 data center in that region, then you can avail this ZRS option. Okay, are we good with this LRS and ZRS? Any doubt with this LRS and ZRS? What is the difference between LRS and ZRS? If I ask any one of you to differentiate LRS and ZRS, can you do it for me? Anyone? Guys, can you hear me?
LRS is a local redundant.
Okay, great.
And ZRS is a zone redundant across zones.
Okay, local redundant, that means even though if we say local, guys, so local is nothing but is in the same zone. It is creating 3 replication copy. So basically it is helping you to avoid any rack failures like fault domain. If you guys remember in availability set, if one of the rack is down, you will still have backup of your data. Okay, if the complete zone is down, that's altogether a different story. But any of the rack and anything at the storage itself is corrupted, then you still have backup created in other. Okay, wherein on ZRS, it's altogether we have 3 zones in which we have the data created. Very good, thank you. Now the other one is,
May I know?
yeah, tell me.
Yeah, LRS can happen only single zone.
Only in single zone. Like suppose in LRS you have your data in zone 1, then you will have replication, 3 replication happens in zone 1 itself. Wherein in ZRS you will have 3 replication in 3 different zones.
Okay.
That's why this ZRS is available wherever you have 3 zones options available. If you don't have in any region, if you don't have 3 zones, then you cannot use ZRS option over there.
Okay.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
let me show you the third option. That is GRS. That's Geo Redundant Storage. So what exactly it will do? It will copy your data synchronously 3 times within a single physical location in the primary region using LRS. Then those other data are copied asynchronous to a single physical location in secondary region. I know you have not understood anything. Let me demonstrate with an example. Now GRS is basically what it will do. This is yours. I'm just taking as zone 1 now. So within a region we have zones. So I'm just writing this as zone 1. And this zone 1 is somewhere in West US. Just imagine it's West US. Okay. West US, because West US doesn't have 3 zones. So that's why I'm taking West US example. West US. Now what LRS was doing, it was creating 3 copies. 1 copy, 2 copy. So this is complete storage account will be created, guys. This copies will be created. Now this was LRS. This is all we know, that there is a synchronous replication happening between these 3 copies. So what do I mean by synchronous replication? Whatever changes I do over here, the same changes getting replicated over here. That is synchronous. Now this was LRS, which we have seen it. Now with this zone redundant, that is geo zone redundant, there's one more region in picture. Like imagine this is zone 1 and the region is East US this time, and in this region also you'll have 3 copies, exact 3 copy of the same storage account, exact 3 copy, and there is a asynchronous replication which is happening with this zone. What replication is happening? There is a asynchronous replication happening with this zone. Now if something happens over here, if this zone is down, you still get data from this zone, but it's not 100% that you'll get the exact data whenever like if your zone 1 got down at 7:45 and there was some transaction happening, that there was some data write operation which was happening on in this storage account, you'll get the exact same data over here. This is something Microsoft doesn't recommend. So that's why it says very clearly that the data copy which is happening between this zone is asynchronous. And what do I mean by asynchronous? The replication is not happening at a real time. Understood? So whenever the write operation which is happening, so it will be committed at the first primary location and it will be replicated using LRS within the same zone, and the same data will be updated and replicated asynchronously to the secondary region. So you remember this word asynchronously and synchronously, guys. It plays a very important role understanding these concepts. That is the reason if you go and see, when you select West US, which doesn't have 2 zones, you can have LRS and GRS option selected. So in West US there are 2 zones basically. So if you see, you got local redundant and geo redundant storage options over here. Okay, wherein if you want to have ZRS, then you need to select East US. Even in India we have ZRS option. Even in India they got 3 zones created now. It was not there previously, but it's there now. Okay, now what is the last one? The last one is something geo zone redundant storage. The last one, this is the highly optimal, and this is a combination of GRS and ZRS. This is the combination of GRS and ZRS what you have in geo zone redundant storage. Highly optimal and highly costly, guys. So if you have any data which you think it's very you cannot even think of losing a single KB of data, then you need to go with GZRS. And if you want to have highly optimal, zero latency, any such requirement you have, then you can go with such combination. Okay, now let me just delete this all. Now let's talk about GRS. Okay, so geo zone redundant storage, combines the highly availability provided by redundancy across availability zone. It has even gives you protection, outage protection if the complete region itself is down. So what exactly happened in GZRS? Storage account is copied across multiple Azure availability zones. So your data are getting copied across multiple zones. Okay. Now, what exactly this is? Let's talk about that. So it's a combination of ZRS and GRS. Okay, so it will have two regions. Now this is an example of ZRS. So we already saw what exactly ZRS is all about, guys. In ZRS, you have in three zones you have copies created. So this is zone 1, this is zone 2, and this is zone 3. And you have three copies created in ZRS. This is your primary region, correct? This is your primary region. Now in GRS you will have one more region, that is secondary region. This is somewhere over here. In the secondary region you will have zone 1, and in zone 1 it plays something, you have three copies, same like how we had it in LRS. This is how the replication is happening in GZRS. Okay, now there's a continuous replication happening between these zones. Okay, so this is highly available as compared to the other availability options what we have saw. So this is what GRS, combination of ZRS and LRS. This is LRS, guys. So firstly you will have your storage account created in one region, and that will, if you select GZRS, it will automatically replicate all those data into three zones, and plus it will also create the same data in other region, and it will have three replication over there also. It will have three replication over there also.
So it's copying the data synchronously or asynchronously between the ZRS and
Synchronously and asynchronously. This is, let me think it's copying synchronously, because that is for what it is charging extra. Give me one quick minute. Okay, ZRS data are getting copied synchronously, and GRS data, no, this is not happening synchronously, guys. This is asynchronously, because it's a combination of GRS and ZRS. ZRS is something which is happening synchronously, wherein in GRS we just spoke about, there's a asynchronous replication which is happening in the other zone. Correct? So yeah, it's asynchronously. It's a combination of both GRS and ZRS. So the data which is getting copied to the other region, this is asynchronous replication which is happening.
Yes.
Okay? Make sense?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Any questions till now, guys? Any other questions? These are the four types which you will come across a lot. And mostly I'll recommend you'll be using something called as either this zero redundant storage, because you will have your data in other region also, or you will be using zone redundant storage, wherein your data are getting replicated into three zones basically, and this is happening synchronously. This data syncing is happening synchronously. So this is the feature. If you want your data to be highly available, then this is the option, the best option which you can select off. But if you want more highly availability, so that if the complete region itself is down and you still want your data, then this is the option which you can select. Okay, four types. Let's go to the PPT. Now this is what we have seen till now. Local redundant storage synchronously replicates data to three disks within a data center in the primary region. Offers moderate level of availability at a lower cost. The other one is zone redundant storage. Synchronous replicates data among three Azure availability zones in the primary region provides higher level of resiliency at higher cost. So this is synchronously replicating your data within these zones. Geo-redundant storage stores another 3 copies of data in paired Azure region. That is asynchronous replication which is happening in the other region over here. Read access geo-redundant, same as GRS. So when I say same as GRS, that means it is storing 3 copies in other region, but asynchronously, but also allow data to be read from both the region. Okay, this was the important feature which we missed in RAGRS. So whatever data you store in this region, in primary region and secondary region, the data can be read from both the sides. Okay, the data can be read. The writing will be done only on this primary region first, then it will get replicated in secondary region, but reading of data can be done from both the sides. This is very important feature which you missed. Okay, that is what it is saying.
Can you please explain zone and region one time, please?
Sorry.
Can you please explain the zone and region?
Perfect. I'll do it. But are we clear with this GRS and LS, guys? Okay, let's go back a bit and understand zone and region at once. Now, before we understand zone and region, we need to understand the concept of data center, how this cloud concept works. In reality, when we say data center, what are we talking about? We are talking about a physical location, wherein you have all the racks, you have all your resources, you have your own power supply, you have your own cooling system, you have your own compute like CPU, memory, firewall, switches, all your networking devices. This is all together forms a data center. So this is a physical location which forms a data center. Correct? We are clear with it, that what exactly data center is all about. Now, why do we call Azure a cloud provider? Why do we call AWS a cloud provider? It's not. It's if
Emma
suppose,
Kuya Hudi is too cool.
can you put yourself on mute? Okay, perfect. Now, why do we call this as a cloud providers Azure and AWS and Google and all? The reason is they just don't have one or two data center globally. They have n number of data center across the world. Now, if I open one data center, will I call myself a cloud provider? Yeah, for within the region, like if I have a data center in Mumbai, and if people in Mumbai and across Mumbai want to use my service, then they can call me a cloud provider, which I will not have high availability and resiliency like the actual cloud provider provides. Now, if someone wants to use my service from US, that doesn't make any sense, correct? Because they will have multiple issues. Like suppose if they are hosting their application on my data center, the application will not be highly available because I don't have any local caching happening right now. So there are many issues which you will face if I just have one or two data center. That is the reason these big players like Azure and all, they came in picture. Now these big players, what they did, they have data center across the world, not just one or two. They have 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6 data centers across the world. Just imagine you are in a country like India or US, whatever country you want to take it. So now in country like India, they got 3 data centers. They got one data center in Mumbai. Same example you can take it for US also, in US cities also, guys. It's the same thing. They got one data center in Bangalore. That is Bangalore now. So that they got it in Bangalore. And they have one more data center. Just imagine somewhere in Delhi. I don't know if that is right or not. Yeah. So what exactly they have? They got multiple data centers. One in Mumbai, one in Bangalore, one in Delhi. multiple data center. This data center, this India, what you see, this India is nothing but, this is called as region. What exactly it is? This is region. In India region, they got 3 data centers. And this Mumbai, it's nothing but, it's zone 1. This is zone 1. This Bangalore becomes your zone 2. And your Delhi region becomes your zone 3. Now, the replication which I was talking about, in this 3 zone, the replication is happening. And these all region which you see, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, they are tightly coupled with each other with high fiber cables. And the replication within this zone has a latency of less than 2 milliseconds. So whatever you copy over here, very immediately the same data is available in zone 2. Very immediately the same other data is available in zone 3 also. This each zone has its own power supply, it has its own cooling system. If in zone 1 Mumbai is down, then you will still have data from zone 2 and zone 3. This is what region, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. This is nothing but your data center. Hopefully this answers your question.
Yes, thanks.
No problem. Okay, so this is what zone and region is all about in Azure. Same concept in AWS also, guys. Nothing different in AWS. If you're going in AWS cloud, this is the same concept. Even they have it. Okay, so that is where this LRS, GRS, ZRS, and GZRS comes in picture. And this is how the call. This is now in LRS. You know how the cost, how it is less cost as compared to others, because in the same Mumbai zone it is replicating 3 times. Okay, wherein if you go in ZRS, it has to replicate in Mumbai, it has to replicate in Delhi, it has to replicate in Bangalore. If you talk about US, suppose imagine New York, Chicago, and Franklin, Tennessee. These 3 cities wherein the replication is happening. No, I'm just giving assumption. I'm not sure if they have data center in that cities, guys. Okay, they might have, but I'm just giving you an example. Okay, so we'll stick with LRS, guys. This is the cheap affair. I don't want to spend unnecessarily replicating my data. Let's create a resource group first. So what are we doing? I'm creating a storage account with performance standard, and the redundancy type which I'm selecting, it is LRS. These are some security feature, whether you want to enable APIs and all, whether you want to give public access and things like that. And this is the place, the data lake. Now with Azure storage, you can also enable data lake storage. Now what is data lake? What is data lake storage? Data lake is used in big data solutions. Now what is big data? It's all new words which is coming in. Data lake, just think of data lake as a place wherein any sort of data can be dumped. Just think of a garbage dump yard, your city garbage dump yard. So what the garbage person do, it collects data from, it's not data, garbage from your household, and it gives the garbage are collected in a truck, and later once from every household the garbage has been collected, what they do, they go and dump that truck in the dump yard, in the garbage dump yard. So from you're getting garbage from all the sources and you're dumping at one single location, correct? Later they utilize that garbage by processing the plastic separately, dry garbage separately, wet garbage separately, and they try to recycle many things. And if something is not getting recycled, they try to burn it or they try to dig into the earth. That is what they do, correct? So they are making sense out of that garbage in some other way. That is what data lake storage is all about. I know it's very weird example of garbage, but in reality, the amount of data you get in data lake, it's like garbage only. But making sense out of that garbage is what data engineers do. Okay, so you get data from different sources, different devices. Like just take an example of a Ola or Uber cab. There are so many cabs in the country. If you take an example of country as US, there are so many cabs, Uber cabs are running, and they are sending continuous data. Okay, that data is getting stored somewhere. So that storage is nothing but a data lake storage where your data are getting stored. So Azure storage also supports data lake. That's a version 2. That's v2, general v2. What you see, that v2 is a sign that it supports data lake storage also. In storage account v1, there was no data lake storage support. Now the v2 version which you see, let's go to the previous basic. Do you see the general purpose v2? This v2 is version 2 of data storage. This supports data lake storage also. So if I go and enable this, if I go and enable data lake storage, namespace hierarchy, then even your data lake storage, you can start storing your data lake datas in this storage account. So the only difference between data lake storage and storage account is data lake storage store data in a hierarchical manner. What do I mean by hierarchical manner? In a folder like structure, you will have folders, you will have subfolders and everything like a folder like structure. This is how the data are stored in data lake. Okay, makes sense. So keep this in mind, guys. Data lake storage is also supported by Azure storage account. If I say someone in Azure, if they are working on data lake, so they are working on storage account. It's not something fancy they are working on. So they are, if they say that we have created a data farm and data lake, all these big words that they are using, it's nothing but it's a storage account which they are using. Keep that in mind. Okay. And now on top of it, data lake, you will have your ADF pipelines and things like that. So this is more from the data engineer perspective. Then more from the big data processing and things like that, ETL processing and things like that. If you want to do, even that is possible with data lake. You can select data lake as a source. Just an FYI in case you get across such things. Networking, I'm enabling public access for now. Later I can stop it. Enable soft delete, this is something I'll talk about later. For now I just disable all this. This is the encryption type, Microsoft managed keys, and if you have any custom keys, then you can even use that. Okay, review and create. Any questions with the data lake and the Azure storage, whatever we spoke about till now? Anyone? No questions? Okay, let's wait while the storage account is
Rohit,
coming. Yeah, tell me.
yeah, Rohit. In GRS, like is like data replication happen asynchronously, right? So is there a time specific time it will take for asynchronous application?
No, there's no specific time which you can think of, but it happens in batches. So it will not wait the whole day or whole night for doing the replication. It will happen eventually in an hour or so. Okay, but if you ask for any time duration when exactly, so there's no fixed time at what time the replication will happen. But yeah, once there is a good amount of data, there's a batch processing which will take it in the backdrop, and automatically the data will be replicated. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Even if you go and see the FAQs of Microsoft, you will not get any specific time when exactly the data will be replicated. Okay, this is how the storage account looks like, guys. So we have created a storage account. The replication method what we have selected is LRS, and the storage account type is storage v2. Now this is your storage account, and these are the types, 4 types: containers wherein you can store your blob data, you get file share, queues, tables. Okay, now let's talk about containers. In containers you need to create a blob. This is basically for storing your logs, container logs over here. So this is for no use. If you want to store any data, you have to go and create your own container. Give whatever name you want to give. I just name it as blob. So you can give whatever name. I'm giving public access level as private. So there are multiple access. So even at the container level, you can put restrictions. Now, if you remember at the storage account level, I have given public access. But if at the container level, if I'm keeping it private, you still cannot access my data. Okay. And these are some advanced topics. This is something we'll talk about later. But for now, I kept my container as private. Now this is what a container is, nothing but it's a folder which I am creating right now, guys. Now inside this folder I'll start putting my data in it. Now I have the container created. Now inside this container, if I want to upload any data, I can simply go and upload. There are multiple ways how you can access your containers and storage account. One is through portal, through CLI, through SDKs, through Storage Explorer. There are Explorer which you can download and keep it on your local, through which you can upload bulk of data directly from your local to your storage account. You can make use of AZ copy command, through which you can copy bulk of data from your local to your storage account. Okay, so there are multiple ways you can access and you can copy data from your local to your storage account. For now, I'm showing you the easiest way of simply browsing file and uploading data. This is the easiest way which you will come across. Now let's see this. I'm putting this Azure artifact data over here. Okay, this data is uploaded, done. Now this is your data got uploaded over here. Okay, now this is the name of your file. This is when the file was updated. This is the access tier. What exactly is access tier? This is something I'll talk about during my Monday session. And this is, you can see the block type as block blob. Now there are page blob. There are other types of blob also, which is, I'll talk about that later. And there's a size and there's a lease state. Now what exactly these are very important topic to understand. This is something we'll talk about in details in my later session. Now today I'll stop over here, guys, and I'll go and delete this storage account, and we'll create this storage account again when we come back on Monday. I need couple of sessions more to explain you storage account in more details. We'll focus on containers more and we'll focus on file share more. And I'll give you an example of file share. How do we mount a file share on a Ubuntu machine? That's kind of a bit of advanced topic, but yeah, that is very important to understand how file share works. Okay, that's it for me. If you have any questions, doubt, please do let me know. I can spend more 5 minutes with you guys, no problem. But if you have any doubts and questions, please do let me know. Monday we'll continue the same topic and we'll talk more about storage account in great, because this was just an overview what we have gone through today. Monday we'll talk about tiers, we'll talk about lifecycle data management of lifecycle management, we'll talk about what is soft delete, we'll talk about what is lease state. So these are very important topics which we'll do it on Monday. Okay, anyone has any questions, guys? And we have very less audience today, I think, because of the change in the link. I think because of that. That's okay. Anyone has any questions, guys?
Rohit, I just joined today. Would like to know, what are the topics that are covered so far?
Okay, Bala, Azure storage, this is the first time we are covering the storage account topic. Prior to this, we have covered VMs, Azure VMs, and the VMs we were focused more on availability, wherein we talked about availability zones, we spoke about availability set, load balancer, and virtual machine skill sets. This is the topic which we have covered. And prior to that, we had some topics covered in virtual networking, but that virtual networking topic I'll be doing it again next week. So I'll be spending a couple of days explaining you virtual networking. But apart from it, whatever topic you have missed it, make sure during this week, those were not big topics, very simple, straightforward topics. Make sure during this week, go and watch those videos, Vala. Okay?
Sure.
No,
Thank you, Rohit.
No problem.
quick question.
Yep.
Yeah,
Josh,
you mentioned that at the end of every week you give us assignment.
yes.
Are we getting one this week, or
I'll
you
I'll have the assignments given once I'm done with this cloud. So I'll give you a complete assignments on cloud. So the same way, like once we're done with the complete topic, we'll have assignments. So once I'm done with the complete topic in cloud, I'll give you the assignments, Josh. I have written
Okay.
it. I have the assignments written already. I'm just awaiting
Okay.
once I'm done with the complete topic. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
No problem. Guys, thank you very much. And let's meet on Monday. Monday, India time. It will be Sunday night for the CST and EST people. Yep. Tell me, Kareem.
Yeah, so is it a way that maybe I'm just thinking differently? Is it a way that like whatever we're gonna be studying on Monday, is it a way you can post that we study it before we get to class, please?
Sure. So I can do that, but eventually what happens, whatever I think on the spot is important, I start that topic. Okay. Whatever is related, I start that topic. But yeah, I can try my best to give you those topic in advance. For Monday, I'm pretty sure what we are doing. So no worries. I'll try my best to put it on the group chat. Whatever topics we are covering next. So I try to say the same thing in the call. But yeah, if you want me to post in the group chat, I'll try my best to do it. Kenny. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, guys. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the topics covered in each week? Can you please know? Can you please share those information in the WhatsApp group?
Yeah, there is a course.
Knowing purpose,
Yeah,
and
no problem.
also do the practice as well as learning purpose. It's very easily for us.
Yeah, so I'm following my course curriculum. If you have your my course curriculum with you, so I follow the same course curriculum. So the only thing is, it may happen that in my course curriculum you see Linux is mentioned at the very first, but I thought before Linux, cloud knowledge is more important. That's why I've started with cloud. But if you see the topics in the course curriculum, it's the same flow I'm going through. So I don't jump around in the topics. Like if you see in the course curriculum, Azure Virtual Network first, VM second, storage account third. That is the flow what I follow. Sunil.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Let's meet on Monday and let's continue. Bye bye.